Welcome to Citrus Springs, where affordability meets elegance. Today I'm taking you inside a brand new 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom home priced under $270,000. With over 1,800 square feet of modern living space, sleek finishes, and open concept design perfect for entertaining, this home proves you don't have to sacrifice style for budget. Whether you're a first-time buyer, relocating to Florida, or just looking for more space without breaking the bank, this is a rare opportunity you don't want to miss. So let's check it out. This is our first time meeting. My name is Joe Denny. I'm a Florida realtor and mortgage broker as well. So we're able to shop up to 61 different lenders to see what different financing options we have. Towards the end of this video, we're gonna go over the numbers, the process of buying a home, a sample contract, where we're at, possible top employers in the area. I wanna give you guys a full overview of where is Citrus Springs? Where is this house? What is this house gonna cost me? What's the process to work with me in potentially buying this house? But if you're not ready for a phone call yet and you just wanna get property sent directly to you, a lot of my clients like my VIP list. There's a QR code on the screen. Also in the description, I have a link where on the VIP list, if you just put your criteria and let me know what you're looking for, as soon as I can, I'll get a property list going over to your email. That way you can start seeing the properties as they hit the market, and you don't have to wait for videos like this to see these brand new homes that are popping up. Because sometimes when these videos launch, the properties might be under contract already. I wanna start right across the street. So when you're standing in front of your house, this is kind of like the view that you're going to have over here. I'm not sure that they could build over here. So if you're a fan of not having neighbors like in front of you, this could be the perfect opportunity for that. Also, if you're looking for the walkthrough video of this home where it's just a quiet one, on that QR code and in the description as well, you'll be able to get the link for my secondary channel where it's just quiet walkthroughs of all these homes. So if you don't want to sit here for the next 20, 30, 40 minutes watching this slower video as we go over the process and you just want to see the house, head over to that second channel. All right, my compass tells me that the front of this house faces northeast, and then this is gonna be north. So you're facing north to northeast, and you got this kind of like hill that goes up, so the property slopes up. So when it rains, the water is gonna like pour down here, and it's gonna go into that area right across the street. Do you guys like these properties that are like on a hill kind of, or are you more of a I like the flat type of property vibe? We're on our way to 5,000 subscribers. So if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and drop a like on this video. Let's go around the outside of the house first before we go on the inside to kind of give you guys an idea. We're in Citrus Springs, super attractive price point over here. And wait till you see the incentive that I'm gonna talk about later. This builder's giving away a bunch of closing costs, reduced interest rates under 5%. I'm also a mortgage broker, so I know that the rates right now for like resales and for like other new constructions, with smaller mom and pop builders, you're in the 6s, you're in the 7s. So for somebody to be able to buy down the rate enough for you to be under 5% and help you pay potentially all of your closing costs, it's just an amazing deal, while still being under $270,000, while having 4 bedrooms, and you got this lanai back here as well. And it's kind of like what I was saying about the slope. So you see how it kind of like goes downhill over here. The neighboring lot, I'm not sure if somebody's going to buy it and build eventually, but right now you have no neighbors to the left. To the right, they have broken ground, it looks like, on some property that they're going to be building over there. So this property is on septic for the sewer system. It's pretty common out here. I believe this one is on public water. I did not see the well. Some people are a fan of the well water because you're not going to have the water bill. Some people are a fan of the public water. So there's pros and cons to both. What I do know is when you're buying a home with financing, Even if you're putting $1, borrowing $1 from the bank and you're financing everything else, they're going to require a water test. You know, there's different things that they're looking for in terms of like to make sure the water is potable and different elements and things that they're going to look for to protect you. So I understand that it's frustrating already having to know that, oh wow, this inspection is going to cost me an extra $200 to send these water test samples to labs and stuff. But trust me, everyone's on the same page of making sure that you have water that's good. So that's something to look out for when you're doing a well property. They're gonna have a water test. Unless if you buy the property cash, then you can do whatever you want. But I still would recommend getting a bunch of tests and inspections even when you buy cash. So two of the rooms are gonna be right at the entrance to the home when you walk in to the right. You have that room over there, one of the bathrooms there, and a room over here. And I also brought my handy dandy laser tool to give you guys dimensions. This room that we're in right now, 11.98 by 13.94. And when I did the measurement, I measured to this wall over here, not towards like the cutout to the closet. And then you have two windows here that give it a lot of natural light that comes in. Let's just see, let me turn off the light. Yeah, you can barely notice it. So you have a lot of natural light that comes in from these two nice windows right at the front. So whoever wants to be in the, I would say the brightest room so far of the house, this might be the winner. Then we have your bathroom. You have the tub here. Pretty nice bathroom, pretty basic. Bedroom number 2 right over here, 11.62 by 13.3. So this one's slightly smaller. I don't know, I felt like it was bigger when I walked in, but the other one's bigger. You have this closet here. And then you got one window over here. It does feel a little darker, gloomier in here versus that other room. So like I said before, whoever wants the brighter room is gonna be better off at that other, in the other bedroom over there. Let's keep touring. Over here, we're gonna have a little storage closet here. A lot of my people from New York still keep like their coats and everything, so they'll be able to use that. We are in your 2-car garage. Let's take some measurements for you guys. Okay, 18.74 by 19.88, and from top to bottom, 8.37. Now I'm not gonna lie, it looks a little rough around the edges, so I gotta figure out, like the builder's probably gonna finish painting this off, I would hope. I mean, the home looks smooth and ready, but I don't think they're gonna deliver it like this. But if you guys want this home and you want me to figure it out, let me know, because I'm almost certain they're gonna finish like painting this over here. Also, are you guys a fan of carpet? You know, I like some houses with carpet. This one here is going to be 10.44 by 9.42. So we got the smallest room here, tucked away on the side. You have a window facing the next house that they're gonna be building right over there in the future. Not sure if it's the same builder. I could always look at the sign in the front, but let's keep moving. All right, we have your laundry room. Are you guys a fan of the laundry room being in the house or being in the garage? I know people hate when the laundry rooms are in the garage. We have 6.33 by 6.65. So that's gonna be your laundry room right over there. You have a smart thermostat in the house. Here's gonna be your air handler storage right over here. And then you'll be able to change the filters right over here. Some of these houses that I've seen, the filters, they'll put them like up, oh, sorry. They'll put them up like on the ceiling and stuff, which is super frustrating. This should be for your doorbell. You're gonna have over here, smart lock, super nice. And I think that that's one of the smart locks that you can also use like your fingerprint. And I'm all about automation. Like that's awesome where I could just probably pull up to the house. Well, I'm gonna pull up through the garage anyways, but if I were walking through the front, that's like the best way to do it with like a smart lock like that. Now we're in your living room, kitchen, dining room. Uh, 14.43 by 18.36 for your living room dimensions over here. We have the cable outlet over here, but if you're like me and you stream, you're probably gonna have like Apple TV or a Roku or a Fire Stick. Then these things only really matter for like the internet connection. But if you like the cable box, traditional HD boxes, DVR boxes, then you're probably gonna wanna mount like your TV here on this wall here. And if you're like me, you probably put like a nice accent wall over here as well, something crazy nice. With like my boy Andres did, I saw him on TikTok, he put like some LED lights behind the TV. And it's kind of cool because it syncs up with what you're watching. So if you're watching some music videos, some Bad Bunny, or watching me on YouTube, maybe it might sync up with what I'm saying somehow and have like a nice little color option. That'd be pretty cool. I have 5 kids. I'm all about efficiency. And when I look at this, right, and I see the space, how it kind of overflows, I could line them up here. And then we can kind of be like behind here, just getting stuff ready, the breakfast, the buffet of the bacon, the eggs, the sausages, the toast, the French toast, and just line it up for those 5 kids. My oldest, 15-year-old, once he turns like 30 and has his first baby, then they could bring the grandbabies over here. And then we can probably buy a bigger house at that point so we can line it up even better. Dining room, formal dining room. In a lot of the houses that I look at, you have like a nice light fixture here. This builder is going, saving some money. They want to save you some money, so they're not putting a lot of fancy things in here. So you have a basic light here, but this will be like your dining area here. 10.48 by 10.72. Are you guys a fan of like these split kind of floor plans that are semi-open, or are you more of a fan of like just having it all open? So it's like I get a mixture of clients that are like, no, I like to have like the, open floor plan. And some other clients are like, no, I like to have that split floor plan option. Where I'm standing is where the refrigerator will go. Some of these builders aren't gonna actually offer you the refrigerator, but we can negotiate different scenarios like a move-in ready package. And some of the builders don't even offer the blinds either. So in this one, you're not gonna have the blinds. But if that's a deal breaker, let me know, and we'll figure out a way to get you some sort of deal, a custom deal. We have so many creative ways to get different negotiations done, whether it's like a washer and dryer, the blinds, a refrigerator. Depending on what will get the deal done, I've seen different scenarios work out. Now, if you wanna enjoy this beautiful Florida weather, let's go to your lanai. So, from there to there, we have 13.66, and then from here to here, we have about 5.8. So 13.66 by 5.8. Anything you gotta do in the future is possibly just screen it in so that the bugs don't get you. Some bugs will still find a way in, but as your lanai here, you can kind of see this will be like your backyard view. And if you were to put like a privacy fence, then you really can't see anything back there, just some of these trees. Which, by the way, let's do a tree test. Let's figure out if there's any trees that are too close to the property. That was one of the things that I did with my recent client that I was just with the other day. we were going to a few different houses, and one of the first things we looked at was, all right, where are the trees? Because a lot of these builders put pictures of a model home, not pictures of the home that you're actually going to be buying. So it's super important. Even if you see the same home with 3 different addresses, go to all 3. So you can kind of see that trees are on the next lot over. It does not look like they would be too close to causing any major issues. There's some smaller trees over here as well. And then back here, you got this big boy right here. And then over here, this one is kind of leaning that way as well. So for me, this one, it passes the tree test. Let's head to your primary, 12.52 by 13.96 as far as dimensions go. And you're gonna have your ensuite bathroom over there. Got this one window over here, faces your backyard. So if you get the fence over there, you have some more privacy right there. You have your dual sink vanity. At the shower. You have a small closet here for some linen, some towels and stuff. And then you have the bigger closet over here. So in my household, the way that this would be set up, oh wow, this goes far back. So this would be the hers, and then this will still be the hers. And then for me, I'll probably get enough space, maybe in here for my stuff. Yeah, so this is gonna be hers, and that's gonna be mine. So as far as dimensions go, in this one here, okay, we have 6 by 11.97. This is a nice big closet. So if it were me, I'd get like some custom closet things here and kind of transform this space. Go to IKEA and get like all the different ideas of what I would do there. But that's the walkthrough. Now we're gonna head to the home studio. Well, we're gonna get the drone up in the air first and do all that. And then we're gonna get to the home studio and kind of give you guys an idea of like what the numbers look like, where we're located, what's around here. Also, here's your pantry. Almost forgot one of the most important spaces in the house. So you have your pantry over here for all the snacks and all the food. But let's go now to the home studio. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 5,000 subscribers. Super excited about all the families that reached out to me. This month alone, 10 different families. Last month, 22 different families have reached out to me. Super excited about helping you guys in your journey. And everyone's journey is different, different chapters, different time frames, different challenges and obstacles. But super excited about getting all those different action plans started with everyone to get them into their home, into their first home, their second home, their third home, their 7th home. Got some repeat clients as well that have reached out to me. So super grateful for you guys. My family appreciates it. I do this, you know, I drive here 2 hours to get here today, 2 hours back, 4-hour round trip, and then 2 or 3 hours making videos for people like you, so you can enjoy these videos from the comfort of your home, watching me on your phone, in your iPads, your laptops, on your TVs. I remember the first time I got that phone call, I was in Universal back in like 2021 from YouTube, where it was like, hey, I'm watching you on TV, I want to buy a house. And I thought it was a joke. What do you mean you're watching me on TV? I'm not on a TV show or nothing. But super grateful for you guys. Also follow me on the social media. I got the TikTok and the Instagram and all that at The Real Joe Denny. But let's head out now and let me get you some drone footage of this, as well as going back to the home studio. All right, we're back at the home studio and we have a lot to cover, so let's dive right in. We're gonna go over some of the details, such as the property details, some of the numbers, talk about the home buying process, go over a sample contract, some of the top employers, and we're actually gonna show you on a map like where the property is located and show you like what's around the property as well, so you can kind of get an idea of like where are we, where is Citrus Springs, because you probably just saw this video and you're like, oh, let me click on it, it has a cool thumbnail, and you don't know where this is at. But it's actually become a very interesting place of interest, because people are seeing the pricing is pretty good out there. So a lot of people are looking like in Ocala area, are starting to also look in the outskirts of Ocala and the neighboring cities as well. So We're in Citrus Springs, 34433. That's the actual zip code. And when I show you guys the map of where everything's located, you'll be able to get the address there in case you want to save it and map it from like where your house is or where your job might be or anything like that. I'm going to go over these numbers, right? But something that's really awesome. First of all, the numbers I'm going to go over are all estimates, and your numbers could be different. And I'm a licensed loan originator, so if you want like your actual estimate, let me know. But I wouldn't use my bank for this scenario first. I would first try the builder's bank. And the reason why I say that is because through their own preferred lender, they're offering 4.875% rate, and they're giving you $15,000 towards your closing costs, concessions. So in a scenario where you might be able to go with a down payment program or USDA or some sort of grant or something, you could be like nothing out of pocket to get into this house. There's still going to be like a deposit and inspection and an appraisal, but you could probably get into this house for as low as like $1,000 or $2,000, and they're going to give you a reduced rate. So as I go over these numbers below, think of the numbers being actually lower if they're still running this promotion. And every month they run different promotions. So whenever you reach out to me, just let me know and I'll figure out in that moment what the newest promotion is going to be that they're offering. We are close to US 1 corridor, upcoming community amenities, new construction, part of Citrus Springs Unit 3. Just like the Ocala area has like the Marion Oaks with like a bunch of units, this one similar, Citrus Springs has multiple units also. This is Unit 3. And then we already know what we're going to cover, some details, breakdown of that, home buying process, sample contract, top employers. So let's talk about top employers right away. Citrus County School District. And then you have Spring Correctional Institution, Citrus Memorial Hospital, Citrus County Government, Public Supermarkets. Those are some of the top employers in the area. There are other jobs available and other employers as well, but off of like public records and everything, those are the top employers that you'll find over there. So we are priced at $265,725. It's a very random number, 265,725. It's like they were just typing on the keyboard like, let me just pick a number that looks good. But we have 4-2 with 1811 with a total area of 2191. Lot size was 0.23, so close to a quarter of an acre. So with the purchase price of 265,725, we got to figure out first property taxes. Now, if you've seen my previous videos, you've seen where I talk about how property taxes are a very controversial subject because you're always going to hear the horror stories about how people say, wow, I bought a new house and then my mortgage went up a year later. What ends up happening is what the lenders do up front is they have to figure out what your PITI is going to be. Now, a PITI is how a mortgage is broken up. Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Well, we know what the principal is because the principal is the sales price minus whatever down payment you put down. What's left over is called the principal. The interest, we know what the interest is going to be because you're going to get upfront like an estimate, and then they're going to lock the rate at some point, and that's going to be your interest rate. There's a process of how the mortgage gets paid down over years. It's called an amortization schedule, where it'll be like interest heavy, principal low, and then it starts like that, little by little, where every month you're paying a little bit less to the interest, a little bit more to the principal, because the banks want their money first, right? So it's amortizing a certain way. But those two numbers, the principal and interest, are going to be close to being an exact number for like the life of the loan. What's going to be a variable is the taxes and insurance. So when they're pulling up these properties, the property appraisers have these property addresses currently assessed at a lower tax number because it's just the dirt right now. After the home sells, the property appraiser has to go out there and kind of like, they go out there with like a measuring tape and they start measuring things, and they got to figure out, okay, how big is this structure, this and that, the garage and everything, and then they'll determine what the taxes are going to be. But what ends up happening is the taxes are just on the land value. And if the lender that you're working with doesn't correctly estimate, or if you don't do your research and talk to the tax collector, see, there's two people involved here that need to do their work. Get the lenders and you got the buyer themselves, their own due diligence. If you don't reach out to like a tax collector and figure out, hey, what can my taxes be? And they put the wrong number when they're doing the financing and everything, well, you're going to get a phone call in a few months or so saying that, hey, We're holding your escrow money to pay your taxes and insurance, but there's something called an escrow shortage. Oh, and by the way, your taxes came in, they got reassessed, and they're going to be this much. So when they say there's going to be this much, the number is going to go up to the correct amount when they recalibrate or rebalance, and then you got this escrow shortage. So you got a double whammy because now your taxes went up twice. Once forever, not forever, but it's going to keep going up, and then once for like the gap that was missing from the first year. So what I always recommend is do your own due diligence. Call the tax collector yourself. They'll be able to figure out what the purchase price, if you're going to homestead the property or not, and where the property is located, what your potential tax estimate will be. So this 1.45% is just a random estimate. This might not be your tax number. It could be lower, it could be higher. And I mentioned the homestead. If you buy it as an investment property, you're not going to have that homestead exemption, so the taxes might be a little bit higher. So for these scenarios here, I'm just using a 1.45% estimate. Closing costs are the fees that you pay when you're buying a house. So think about the fees to pay like the title company, the lender, your prorated taxes, your homeowner's insurance, lien searches. So all those fees plus more are called closing costs. And you are going to get an estimate from the lender of what it could be, and then closer to closing, the rebalancing between the title company and the lender will give you more accurate numbers. And you'll get that usually at least 3 business days before closing. But it shouldn't be so far off from what the original numbers were that your lender might have given you at the beginning. Now, in these scenarios, we're going to go over principal and interest, property taxes, and homeowners insurance, and PMI if it's applicable in that scenario there. So homeowners insurance, so HOI. With homeowners insurance, I'm going to estimate in these scenarios about $100 a month. Homeowners insurance varies. In my last 3 or 4 contracts, we've gotten them down to like $700, $800, $900 for the year. So instead of paying $1,200, we have insurance brokers that are able to get some good insurances. So they've been lower than this. So I'm being conservative. That way, if it's lower, you're happier with me. Some of these loans have a funding fee or PMI. So let's talk about some of these rates as well. The rates change every day. A lot of people don't know this, but the rates are like a roller coaster. And until you lock your rate, you can go under contract and your rate could change. You could shop for houses and have a pre-approval and your rate can change. Until you're under contract and your rate is locked, then your rate can go up and down. The goal is when we're like going under contract and we don't know what the market's going to do, but we want to figure out a perfect timing, obviously before closing and before like the last week of closing. We want to figure out a perfect time. Okay, are the rates like good now? And we lock it at that point. Sometimes you'll see where you'll have a rate quoted to you at the beginning, and then later on you'll get the same rate, but then you'll get some sort of credit at closing to lower your closing costs, and you might be happy. Well, that's because the rates got a little bit better, and if you got that same rate, you'll be able to save some money. Or we can actually possibly lower the rate at that point. We actually do both scenarios to figure out what would work. And in some scenarios, lowering the rate might cost more than like the savings. And sometimes people don't like that okay, my closing costs just went up some money, but the rate's lower. Then they start thinking, oh, why'd you do that? Blah, blah, blah. So we have to pick our battles and figure out, we'll present both, but we have to figure out which one makes the most sense and say, okay, I think this one makes the most sense or this one makes the most sense. But at the end of the day, you get to decide how that would work. Now, as far as the VA loan, let's say you're buying this house with a VA loan, 100% financing. Assuming the rate's 6.17, the loan amount is still going to be $265,725 because with a VA loan, 100% is being financed. You're not putting any money down to the down payment. A common misconception with the VA loan is that I don't got to put any money down at all to the down payment, correct? But there's still fees to buy the house because the VA is not paying the lender, the title companies, the realtors. They're backing the loan by 100%, government-backed loan, where the down payment is being covered. So monthly principal and interest is going to be right around $1,622, but your actual monthly payment all combined should be around $2,000 if the rate is 6.17. But because at the time of this video in August, the builders are doing incentives, your payment should be under $2,000 a month. With an FHA loan at 3.5% down, you would bring to the table $9,300, which actually brings your loan amount down. So now your principal balance on the FHA loan versus the VA loan on your mortgage statements is going to be lower because of the fact that you put some money down, 3.5% down. Rates at the 6.37. you're going to have monthly payments right around 2211 right over there. Conventional 5% down is going to put you monthly right around 2122. Now let's say you're watching this video and you want to buy this home as a second home. You're watching from New York, California, Texas, another state, and you don't want to fully move jobs and do all that, to be able to buy this house. Well, depending on if you qualify, you can get a 10% down option, where with the 10% down, you'll be around $2,000 a month and you can buy it as a second home. You don't have to put like 20% down to buy a property. There are 10% down options, and we can use your income from a different state. So a lot of people ask me, how do I buy this house with my income in New York, for example, but put the least amount of money down? Everybody wants that dream scenario of like, maximizing. Everyone wants maximizing life, right? And I get it. They want to use their New York income, put the least amount of money down. Well, when you're more than like 100 miles away, right? When you work more than like 100 miles away, and there's certain exceptions, the banks start questioning whether like, can this really be someone's primary residence? And it's very easy for them to just map things out and say, this doesn't make sense. It's not logical. And boom, they change it from like a primary to a secondary home, which is like, then goes 10, 20% down. But when you work remote, it's a whole different ballgame. You could live anywhere if you work completely remote. What they're going to do during the verification of employment is they're going to double check that. They're going to double check that you're not needed somewhere consistently, to make sure that it makes sense that they're approving this loan and you're actually going to live in the house. So if you work within like 100-mile radius or work remote, best scenarios pop up. We're talking lowest down payment, best incentives, lowest rates. The moment you introduce a second home option, still good scenarios, better than investment scenarios. You'll still have a good rate and everything. It's not going to be like the 4.875, and you might not get the full $15,000 in closing costs. But then if you want to buy it as an investment property, then that's going to be like 20% down or higher. Conventional, 20% down, you'll be right around $1,788 a month. Something that some people don't know is if you're buying an investment property, right? Let's say you're buying this property as a Airbnb, which I don't think that area is good for Airbnb, or long-term rental. Let's say long-term rental. You can actually tell the bank that you want to waive escrows. And what that means is they'll be able to charge you your taxes and insurance separately once a year versus putting it in your mortgage. In every other loan scenario, they're going to put the taxes, insurance, principal, and interest all together and combine it to create your mortgage. But if you waive escrows, they'll allow you to, pay your taxes and insurance once a year on your own. Now, you're not saving money per se, but you would cash flow better every month, because then what your mortgage would be $1,367. So if you get a tenant in there paying you a certain amount of money, that cash flows, you'll just put the difference into a bank account, and then once a year, you'll pay your taxes and insurance out of that bank account. So depending on how you want to structure your loan, we could be flexible to help you out with those different scenarios. And talk to your accountant or your tax person, because parts of the fees that come included with a mortgage are tax write-offs. So that can actually help you, reduce some of your tax liabilities. Now, here's a home buying tip that a lot of people don't know. So depending on when you're buying a house, so if we were to put a contract in today on August 18th and you close on September 18th, what the bank is going to do is they're going to calculate between the 18th and the end of the month to collect a prorated prepaid amount of interest on your loan. And what ends up happening is the later you close in the month, the lower your closing costs overall will be, because there's less of that interest to collect. The earlier you close in the month, the higher your closing costs will be. It's not that you're paying more money for nothing. You're actually living in the house sooner. So it's all calculated to the day of closing. So don't get fooled by, well, if I just close later in the month and I'll save some money. No, because you're still paying housing, or you may not be paying housing where you're at if you're living with someone rent free, but you're paying for the housing itself to live in the property. So earlier in the month, higher closing costs, later in the month, lower closing costs. But no matter what day in the month you close, the following month, you're not going to have a mortgage payment. You don't skip a payment, but you skip a month. So what's going to happen is October is not going to have a payment at all. The first payment is going to be due in November. And in November, they're going to collect the interest that would have been collected for October. So that's a little hack there if you want to buy yourself a few weeks, where if you're trying to figure out, trying to get in between a rental and, buying your house, or selling a house and buying a house, That's a little hack there where basically you're not going to have to pay the rent for the, sorry, not the rent, the mortgage the next month. They skip a month usually when they go that route. So I wanted to talk to you guys about the home buying process as well. This is a little presentation that I got here to kind of go over how the home buying process looks. So let me show you guys. All right, so let me see. All right, I got the home buying presentation here where we can kind of go over like what to expect in the home buying process. This is one of the first steps if you need financing. If you're buying cash, you don't need to get pre-approved. But there's a scenario, right, where you can go directly to a lender. You can go to a bank, right, and you can work directly with them. They're able to give you multiple products that they offer, but they're truly only going to give you like, one or two opinions on different options that you might have. Whereas if you go to a mortgage broker, we work with multiple lenders. So they'll give us their best deals up front because they want to win the business. And the good thing is, I've seen on different days, different lenders have different deals. So a deal that I quote one day somewhere else might be better somewhere else, and we just got to switch the lender. Here's what's cool about that. When you buy a car, right, they do multiple credit checks. When you're buying a house, with that one credit check, I'm able to shop multiple lenders. But keep in mind, no matter where you go, there will be multiple credit checks, one at the beginning, sometimes one in the middle, and one towards the end. Now, they're not going to ding your credit each time. What they're doing is they're refreshing your credit to kind of figure out, have you done anything or has anything changed that will compromise this loan? So keep in mind that that sacred credit score that you've been working all your life to put together, you're going to get it hit a few times to buy this house because, homes are one of the biggest things people use their credit score for, or fancy cars, luxury cars as well. So you got to decide, are you going to go get one opinion from one bank who's trying to get your business, or are you going to go to me and get you multiple opinions, and I get paid no matter what, so I'm trying to figure out who's going to give you the best deal. And they don't change how much they pay me based on the deal that we're going to get you, which is pretty awesome, even if they give you a better deal. And if you are 6 months out or further, then I would recommend getting a soft credit pool. But when you're within like 3, let's say to 4 months, it's definitely time to get like the hard credit pool. Now, once we've established like everything you're looking for and we're ready to go see some houses, the law is we got to figure out some type of agreement to get under. Most clients that find me automatically say, let's just go exclusive. I like what you do. You're very detailed, transparent. What am I missing? They go and they, boom, sign an exclusive buyer broker agreement for however long they want. 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, however long it's going to take to find your house. A showing agreement is, let's say you found me on Google, Facebook, YouTube, or somewhere else, a for sale sign, and you don't know who I am yet, you're not sure, and you just want some sort of temporary agreement just to be able to see a house or two. I do those all the time. So if you want a showing agreement, let me know. That's a temporary one. Buyer agreement, it's a little more like less temporary. It's like 3 to 6 months. But whichever option you want to go with, we can go that route. Buyer protection. We're going to talk about the different protections in there to protect you as far as like your deposit, your contingencies and everything like that. And we're going to talk about my personal guidance. Now, the way that I interact the best fluidity wise is the easiest is you tell me what you're looking for. We put that into a home search site. You get properties emailed to you or texted, and you favorite the ones you like. I get notified. Once there's 5 or more that are favorited, I ask you, hey, do you want to go see some in person? Or just an absolute showstopper property that you're like, no, this is the one. I get up and go and I make a video for you. That's been the best way in, the last few years that I've worked with everybody. It never works out for somebody to tell me, I'm looking under 400K. Just put some properties together and just tell me where to meet you. And it's like, but I don't know what your tastes are. I don't know what colors you like. I don't know where you're looking. So it always works better if we can have a starting point of like where you're looking, what you're looking for, and then we can put the property search together. And while I'm putting the property search together, if there's any tweaks that I want to make, like I can show you in real time while I'm recording my screen, like, hey, you said that you wanted 2,000 square feet minimum, but look, there's nothing that popped up. So let's try 1,900. You said you wanted an acre minimum, but only 5 popped up. And if I put 3/4 of an acre, then 10 to 20 popped up. And some of those might be 0.80, 0.90, close to an acre. Why would you want to miss out on that for just a tiny bit of dirt that you might not even notice the difference? So I'll make some recommendations as we go, not to completely change your actual search, but to like try to get as many properties in front of you as possible that get super close to your search criteria. Now, once we've identified a few properties that you like, we got to talk about writing an offer, the EMD, which is the initial deposit, earnest money deposit, and then protective clauses. Now, when I show you guys this contract on a sample contract, I'll go into detail on some of the contingencies that we add as protective clauses to show you how that would work out. And two of the biggest ones, the biggest ones in the contract for the due diligence, it's going to be the home inspection and the appraisal as well. You got to hire two people separate to basically help you figure out if the condition is good and if the value is there. You get to pick the home inspector. You don't get to pick the appraiser. It's like a random selection process to keep it unbiased when it comes to the value of the property. But you can pick whatever inspector you want. So I recommend looking at reviews online, figuring out who's the best fit for you. And I'll show you how in the contract we'll put how many days we're going to ask for inspection and everything like that. Now keep in mind, the contract I'm about to show you is the most popular one that we use in Florida, the Florida FAR bar contract. But some of the bigger builders have their own contracts. So even though what I'm about to show you may not apply for this specific builder, certain aspects of it still do apply to like their contract, like contingency periods, appraisal, contingencies, inspections, and everything like that. So when it's time to actually review the builder's contracts, you can see some of these things in there as well. Now, once we figured out a house, put the paperwork together, got the offer accepted, you got to submit some documents to the lender. It's going to go to an underwriter review. It might get kicked back for conditions to clear up a few things, and then it gets put back out, and then it's clear to close. Once we're clear to close, we're going to go basically sign the final paperwork. You're going to fund the transaction, and then it's going to be time to celebrate. When you're buying a home in Florida, you want to look into the homestead exemption, any HOA and CDD fees if the property does have them. This one does not, and the new construction benefits. So that's a little bit about the journey of like the home buying process. I want to show you guys a sample contract, and then I want to show you guys like where this property is in terms of distance from everything like grocery, movie theaters, and things like that. So this is the sample contract. And if you want a copy of it, let me know. I'll send it to you. I'll scroll slowly in case you want to pause the video. It's blank. So the first two lines here, 1 and 2, are going to have the parties. So they're going to have the seller's name there and then the buyer's name here. Section 1 over here is going to have the property description, the county, the tax ID, and the legal description. So these things down here, other than the address, are going to be pulled from public records. The address is going to be, well, it's going to be pulled from public records also, but it's the only thing on there you're going to be able to truly verify with your eyes right away. The title company needs to help you verify the tax ID and the legal description as well. Section D, right over here, is going to outline what personal property should be included with the property itself. Now, here's a fun fact. If the property has a washer and dryer at the property, it doesn't mean that it conveys with the property unless we put it in writing that we want the washer and dryer here and that the seller is going to like agree to that. Now, the thing about builders, like some builders don't offer the refrigerator. So they'll give you like a whole bunch of other promos and everything, but they won't offer you the refrigerator. So they'll let you know if you're going to get a refrigerator or not. Section 2 is going to outline the purchase price. Believe it or not, the price you see isn't the price you have to offer. Even with new construction, you can actually offer less. You got to kind of pick your battles because a lot of builders would rather give you the closing costs and help you buy down your interest rate because they want to keep their price point healthy because they're selling more homes. And if they sell that home for cheaper, then it affects the value of all the other homes that they sold and the homes they're planning to sell. So most builders are going to give you better deals on the back end through closing costs and interest rates. But if you're buying cash and you just don't care about the value of the house, if it goes down or whatever, because you just want a deal, then let's offer less and let's see what they say. You never know. After you've decided on an actual offer price, we got to figure out your initial deposit. Now, no money is given to me. No money is given to the seller. So the money is exchanged through a title company. It's a third party and they're going to help facilitate the transaction for you. So don't send me any money. Not allowed to hold any of your money, but typically on a finance deal, it's about 1% all the way up to 10%, depending on if it's finance or cash. Now, I would check off box the number 2 because the deposit will be made within 3 days after the offer is accepted. And the seller's agent would usually put a title company in the system where we would put their information here, and that's who you would send the deposit to. Line 39 is going to express how much of this purchase price is being financed. And the way that I do is I put it in percentages. So like if you're doing a 10% down loan, I'll put the purchase price, your initial deposit, 90% over here being financed. And then on line E, it's going to have your balance to close. So it's just simple math the system does, where it says, okay, so if the down payment is 10% total and they put 1% into the initial deposit, then around 9% is going to be due right over here. But this does not include your closing costs, prepaids, and prorations. I'm about to show you what some of the closing costs are, but keep in mind, it could be 3 to 4% of the purchase price. This is where we'll put the time of acceptance. So if you want like 1 day to accept it or 2 days to accept it, this is where we'll put the potential closing date that we want to aim to close on. And it's typical to put like a 30-day close if the home is already ready. But if the home's not ready, then it could be a longer closing date. If you're buying a property that's being occupied after closing by the seller or like a tenant or something, this is the clause that would be checked off over here. And if you want to read this to see what your rights are there, this is where we're going to outline if we're going to make the contract assignable or not. This is very common with like investors. I'm not a very investor heavy type of guy. I'm not the best, but I try. I've helped a few investors out in the past. I do very well with like first time home buyers, explaining the process, people recommending me to more first time home buyers because I'm very thorough. So that's for that. This is one of the protections that is very important, right? And keep in mind that if you fail to use good faith and diligent effort to obtain your loan approval during the loan approval period, you should be considered like at fault or whatever. And there's a financing contingency that protects your deposit. So if something doesn't work out in the financing, then the lender can issue a letter saying you were denied. But if you chose to hide something, no one's going to protect you. No one's going, not even me, no one's going to put their license on the line for someone lying about something that they're going to find later. For example, many examples, recent ones. Oh, I don't pay child support. They go to the bank statements, see a very consistent Zelle. They only ask for 2 bank statements, but you chose to hide something from them. Now they're asking for 12 bank statements. You're giving it in, and then they're asking you, well, what's this consistent $500 coming out every 2 weeks going to the exact same person? Oh, that's just me giving money to my kid's mom that I choose to give that. Well, could you stop it if you wanted to? Well, no, because she needs it for the kid. Then that's like child support. You have to be transparent with the bank because they're on your side and they want to help you make sure you qualify for this house so that you're not house poor. So something like that, and then if the loan gets denied, you're not getting your deposit back. Good luck. Find a lawyer to help you, because the realtor, the lenders, they're not going to put their reputation on the line with the other party and say we messed up. No, they're going to say, no, the buyer withheld something and that caused their loan. So all these contingencies protect you if you're using good faith and diligent effort to obtain your loan approval. Now, this is where we'll put how many days we want to have for the contingency. I usually put 30, saying that, hey, we want 30 days to get the financing figured out, because you're pre-approved at the beginning and we're working to get you fully approved throughout the process. So this is where we're going to go over some of the closing costs. At closing, they're going to give you a final settlement statement, which is going to outline all the debits and credits, and you'll sign it at the end showing you what this whole transaction is going to cost. And everything is super detailed. These are some of the things you're going to see on there. These are the costs to be paid by the buyer. These are the costs to be paid by the seller. So these are going to be some of the things that are going to be in your actual closing costs. Title evidence. You want to buy a property that has clean paperwork, which is the title. So this section here is going to outline, the title company's process of like getting your title cleared. And then the seller is going to pay the closing agent, and they're going to designate them to pay for something called the owner's policy. They're going to give you an insurance on your title so that if something pops up later that happened before you bought the house, you'll just file an insurance claim with the title claim, and they'll be able to help clear that out for you. Fun fact, in parts of Central Florida and like North Florida, the sellers pick the title company and they'll pay for that title policy. But in South Florida, the buyers get more control of picking the title company, but they also pay more money because they're going to be paying for those owners' title policies. So it's a little different out there in South Florida. This is where we're going to talk about the home warranty and the survey. Any special assessments are going to be right over here. And then I'll move slowly so you guys can kind of read this in case you want to pause it at any moment. You can kind of see the rest of the contract there. I wanted to get to the property inspection, right to cancel period. So this is another big one. When you're buying a property, even if it's new, I recommend getting a home inspection. And, you know, I haven't seen yet to this day hundreds of homes sold, 6 to 7 years. I haven't seen a property yet that has completely had no issues at all. So I recommend getting a home inspection. This will outline your rights for the home inspection period there. This will talk about the walkthrough and the re-inspection there. The seller's assistance and cooperating in closeout of building permits can be right over there, which is super important with new construction. But typically, once they're already on the market, ready to sell, they've already cleared all those permits and everything, and they should be good to go and have the CO and everything. Here's more information about the escrow agent. This is going to outline what happens if somebody defaults. So super important. If buyer defaults, if seller defaults. Dispute resolution is going to be right here. Attorney's fees, costs. That's the fun stuff. This is going to be the standard for all real estate transactions. If you want to pause and read that there. This is going to be about title examination, surveys, ingress, egress, lease information, liens, time. This is going to talk about how time is calculated through calendar days. But if the last day of specific contingencies and things like fall on a holiday or a weekend, they'll push to the next business day. So time is super important. Time is of the essence in the contract, but determining how they calculate time is also super important. Force majeure, if anything happens like out of your control, like an act of God or something, like hurricanes, floods, weather-related, extreme weather, earthquakes. This will basically cover like what happens in those scenarios there. This will talk about closing locations, documents, the procedure there. Access to the property to conduct your appraisal, inspections, and walkthroughs there. Now, let's talk about addenda. An addendum or multiple addenda are things that we add to the contract because we're not allowed to rewrite the contract. It's written by lawyers. It's a template. We fill things in. We're not allowed to rewrite it. But we're allowed to add addendums or addenda that have also been written by lawyers to add things to the contract. I'm going to go over some of the ones that we commonly use. For example, FHA. If it's an FHA deal, we'll add an FHA financing addendum. Appraisal contingency, it's a big one. You want to make sure that you're paying for the property what the value is. And if it's not, the appraisal contingency gets pulled out and says, hey, everything's on hold. We got to figure this out. So appraisal contingency is going to go over the rights to, renegotiate if the house does not appraise. We have post-closing occupancy, which if you're buying a resale home and a seller wants to stay in the house for like a month or two and you're okay with that, lawyers get involved to help you write up those leases and everything. I'm not a lawyer, but I can help you write the post-closing occupancy agreement between you and the seller. Pre-closing occupancy, in a rare scenario, if you're going to move in before you buy the house, I've done that several times, pre-closing occupancy, if the seller agrees. You're selling your house to buy a house. You want to be protected, sale of buyer's property. And then commission contingencies. This is where this addendum is going to be related to the seller paying me commission. At the time of this video, there have been changes at how the commission gets paid where they wanted us to like charge buyers, but still to this day, I've been charging my commission to the sellers and they're still paying. So you're going to be able to save that money because the seller is going to pay us out of their proceeds. Now, let's say you want to get some money back as closing costs, which is a common thing. Let's say you wanted $10,000. We would go here and we would put all parties agree that the seller will contribute $10,000 towards buyer's closing costs and prepaids. So there's certain limits that certain loan amounts, certain loan products will allow you to get. For example, conventional won't allow you to get more than 3% in concessions, whereas FHA will allow up to 6% in concessions. I don't know that a seller is going to give you 6% in concessions, but it's you're allowed to ask for more. So it's all about a negotiation at that point. Now, we pretty much have that sample contract figured out there. I want to show you guys kind of like where we're at on a map. And this is the address, 2906 West Cortez. You don't see anything there because it's a brand new home, and you just saw the home in the video. It is built there. It's in the Citrus Springs area. So if we zoom out a little bit, you can kind of see Dunellen is over here. You're going to have access to Marion Oaks over here. Ocala is over here. On the left side, you're going to have Homosassa. You're going to have Spring Hill down here. Orlando over here. Gainesville up here. Down here, you're going to see Tampa, Lakeland. So I wanted to kind of go over like some things, some points of interest. So let's say you want to go to the airport. So let's see. Oh, I spelled it wrong. But if you want to go to Tampa Airport, we're about 80 miles away. So an hour and a half. Let's say you want to go to Orlando Airport. 95 miles away, 1.47. So it's safe to say within a 2-hour radius, depending on traffic, of course, you should be able to get to any of those airports as far as that goes. So let's say you want to go to a beach. So it looks like you have Hernando Beach right over here. So never been there, but let's say we go to Hernando Beach. We're about an hour away. Let's say we go to Daytona Beach. Whoa, 2.5 hours away. So let's see, Clearwater and St. Pete might be actually closer. It's still 2 hours. So, you know, you're under 2 hours from the beaches. So that's how that's going to look there. Let's say you wanted some groceries. Right there down the street, you have some groceries. Let's go to the Publix. 5 miles away. Walmart's about 5.9 miles away. I didn't see any Targets when I was over there. So the closest Target will be in Lecanto, Florida. So this is the house. You drive about 15 minutes and you will be at the Target over there, which is near Beverly Hills. And it looks like this is a strip where it has like gyms, restaurants, fast food, car washes. You got the PetSmart there. And it looks like right across the street from that Target is going to be a Walmart as well. You know, when you think about somewhere where you want to live, you want to get like the best deal, but you also don't want to be like super far from places. And to be 15 minutes away, that's not bad at all to be 15 minutes away. Now, let's have some entertainment and see where the movie theaters are at. So we got the Regal in Regal Citrus Cinemas. So 15 miles. So little drive. I mean, you're not going every day. You're not going every day, but you know, there's people that drive 30, 40 minutes to go to work. So why wouldn't you drive 26 minutes to go to the movies? So it's not that crazy. Hospital, we got one about 29 minutes away. Not sure if there's any like smaller like urgent cares closer or anything like that. Or I'm sure there's doctor's offices around there as well. When I was driving around, I saw that, some doctor's offices. Let's say you want to go to the theme parks. Less than 2 hours. You'll be at Universal. SeaWorld is right next to Universal, not too far. So less than 2 hours, you will be at Universal. And then let's say we want to go to Disney, same thing. So you're either making it to Disney or Universal, and both have these great annual pass options. Disney actually has a Pixie Pass option, which is like a weekday pass, super good price. Legoland's like 3 hours away because you're going into Winter Haven. That's quite a trip. So I love Legoland, but I'm not sure that I would like to go 3 hours there. Maybe if I still like at an Airbnb in the area for like a day or two, then that might make sense. But that's going to be like where that distance is as far as that. That pretty much wraps it up for this video. I wanted to go into details about what the numbers look like, what the process looks like. I wanted to show you a sample contract, where this property was located. I do this and I take the time to do this so that you're fully equipped to pretty much take the next steps by calling me or, you know, using the QR code and filling out the VIP list. And you know, I'm no dummy. I know that not everybody's watching the video all the way to the end. In fact, I have an analytics on YouTube that show me that people drop off a lot sooner, but there are some people. that are still watching. Like I was looking the other day and I saw that 3% of the 1,000 viewers actually stood to the very end. So there's some people out there like you right now who's watching this. So there are some people that are watching to the end, like probably like, I think that might have been like 30. Don't quote my math. I didn't do it there on the spot. But super excited for the people that like to watch to the end to like, you know, get all this knowledge and everything. I'm ready to help you out with your home buying process. So reach out to me. And if you're not ready and you just want to get those properties sent to you directly, then the VIP list helps out with that as well, where I'll just start sending properties to you. So I'm gonna let you guys go. The drone's gonna go up in the air. You're gonna see all the aerials and everything. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.